All right, so if you've ever faced a multiplication problem where it's all multiplication and you have more than two negatives, it can get complicated, but again, it's not bad. It's just that there's a lot of work to do if you work choosing a certain choice. But you do have two choices. You can work out each problem carefully, as in like two numbers at a time, paying attention to whether the answer you get is negative, and then rewrite everything else, kind of like we did with our order of operation. Or you can use logic to determine the final sign and apply it to your answer immediately. So let me show you the logic and grab a piece of paper. If you remember the way I've been talking about this stuff, one negative looks like this. Two negatives looks like 1, 2. Now, I know it looks like a plus, but that's a negative stacked on top of another negative. Three negatives looks like 1, 2, and then the third one has nowhere to go, so it goes here. Four negatives, and again, if you practice this, you'll actually be able to do it on your own anyway, but four negatives goes one negative here. The second one stacks on top, that's another negative. Your third negative goes here, and guess what? Your fourth one has somewhere to go and it stacks on top. It's just like a magnet. If two negatives are in the same location, they link up to make a positive. Your five negatives will start one. Your second one stacks. Your third one sits. Your fourth one stacks. Your fifth one sits. And it's that pattern no matter what you do. But notice the ones that have a negative floating are the ones that aren't paired up. And the reason they're not paired up is because they're odd. So 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, any odd number is going to end on a negative because no matter what I do, watch how I count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, there's going to be an odd one out. If I pick 11, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, there's an odd one out. And all you're doing, if you're practicing doing it, like if you ever forget, just remember this pattern. 1, your second one goes on top. 3, fourth one goes on top. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And you can do that anytime you want to kind of think about it with whatever's happening. But again, if there's an even number of negatives, it always ends up being positive because they stack up. Again, 20 negatives is even, should be positive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There you go. So the general rule of logic is if it's an even number of negatives, that you just go ahead and know it's positive and move on from there. So I'm going to work out both ways, and you can choose one to use on your own. The first way is the one where we just work it out carefully, which says I just take these two things and say negative 3 times 2 is negative 6 because there's one negative. You can also take these two because it is all multiplication, only because it's all multiplication. If there was an addition, subtraction sign here, we couldn't do that. Negative 4 times negative 10 is positive 40. And then in the end, negative 6 times 40 is, well, 46. 6 times 0 is 0. 6 times 4 is 24. So 240 is my number. But count your negatives. In this problem, there's one negative, which is why it's negative 240. The thing about this, again, is that negative and being careful about knowing what's what and moving these numbers, that can be dangerous. Again, even if you wanted to do this one number at a time, to where you recognize that this is negative 6, and then you rewrite negative 4 minus 10, and you put these two things, I'm sorry, yeah, that's right, and you put these two together, and negative 6 times negative 4, because there are two negatives, makes a positive 24 times negative 10, which then makes a negative because there's one negative 240. However you want to do that, that's fine. The thing about it is, again, with this method, as soon as you make a mistake on your negative or positive, it's over. Whereas if you count them first, which is what I do here, 1, 2, 3 negatives, and even do your part there if you want to, 1, 2, 3 will be negative. So what I do now is I just bring down a negative and I work out the numbers, ignoring these things because they're no longer important to me. Once I've counted the negatives and determined my answer is going to be negative, I don't need these anymore because they're unimportant. Now I can multiply. 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 10 is 40. I know the negative is here. It's going to stay there. 6 times 40 is 240, as we figured out, and that's it. But what happens is once I know it's negative, this negative just follows along every single step until I get to my answer. In other words, I know it's going to be negative. The question is, what is my answer going to be as I go? All right. And again, you'll need to practice it. I don't expect you to have it down like in one day. You'll need to practice it. But like I said, this type of problem doesn't pop up a lot. You just got to be careful with it. For example, here, negative negative 2 is a positive 2. And then if you want, you can rewrite negative 5, positive 3, negative 4. This times that with one negative in this group is negative 10. Bring down your 3, bring down your negative 4. Negative 10 times 3, one negative here makes this negative 30. Bring down your negative 4. And again, 30 times 4. The easy way to do any number that ends in 0 is 4 times 3, which is 12. And by the way, it's positive because there's two negatives, and then just put the 0 at the end. So for example, 5 times 3 is 15. And so 50 times 3 is 15 with the 0 at the end. Only whenever there's a 0 at the end. 2 times 7 is 14. So if I did 20 times 70, again with trailing zeros, you have 2 times 7, which is 14, and then you have 2 zeros to come over, so it's 1400. But anyway, getting back to work. That is the way when you actually keep those things there. This way here is whenever you actually count early. So 1, 2, 3, 4 negatives goes 1, 2, 3, 4. It means my answer is going to be positive. Once I know my answer is positive, I don't need to write a negative, but I do not need these anymore because I know my answer is positive. Now I do 2 times 5 is 10, times 3 times 4. 10 times 3 is 30 times 4. And notice how I do not have to worry about anything because once I take care of my negatives first, I just deal with the numbers. Pick whatever way is best for you. Again, whatever way you pick, just make sure you practice it because as I said, if you practice it, you'll get it down. But you've got to make a decision on this, and whatever way you pick, there is no wrong way to do it. Just pick something that, again, is comfortable for you, and then make sure you try to master it. But again, if you're still having issues, make sure you talk to your teacher. If I am your teacher, please talk to me, and outside of that, have a good day. I'll talk to you later.